All right, Austin, you
Yeah,
got
with,
it.
with that said,
Take it away.
Austin, the floor is all yours.
Cool. Let me check that I can share my screen. There we go. I can't see the chat right now. And so if anybody has any questions, feel free to just speak up, cut me off. You're not going to upset me or anything. I always like to keep things very informal.
I'll take care
And
of
by the
that.
way,
Yeah,
what was that?
I'll take care of that. Yeah, if anybody says anything in the chat.
All right, please do. Um, and by the way, I probably won't even need to take up the whole 30 minutes, but if people want to ask questions, chime in. Obviously, that'll dictate things. So I'm going to go through things pretty quickly. I don't know if we'll have a Q&A at the end, but we'll see. So a little bit of background because I'm just a stranger to you all, except for Joe, Corey, maybe a couple of others. Obviously, the founder of Reply Assist. I've personally booked 950 or a little bit more meetings from LinkedIn through sending 45,000 invites on the platform. So there's a lot of stuff I don't know. But when it comes to LinkedIn outreach, I know it like the back of my hand. So whether you're struggling with making sure to send invites to the right people, making sure it's the right cadence, knowing how many invites you can send, which I'll address later, knowing how to handle objections from prospects in the DMs. I've covered it all. So any questions, please ask. Don't hesitate there. And then I helped clients instead, obviously, not just talk about myself. I've helped clients in the past book thousands of meetings, send over 1 million invites. So just a lot of volume out there. And then I sold my second startup in 2023, then Bootstrap. So I've been working on Reply Assist since. And then Reply Assist, just a LinkedIn lead generation tool for sales and business development professionals, helping them schedule more meetings with ideal prospects. And then we've served over 50 financial services firms, which is our niche. We can work with anybody, like I say here, but we just like to work with financial services because I was a licensed financial advisor back in college, and it's just a niche that I'm familiar with. All right. This is an important slide to put at the beginning of a presentation because some of you are probably very warm and open to LinkedIn. I notice it's typically like a 50-50 split, or you could say it's a third, but let's just keep it simple for now. Some people are very receptive to it. They think it's a great platform. And then other people think, it can't work for me. And that's fine. It doesn't matter what your background is. Hopefully, through going through this presentation, it shows you a little bit of stuff that you didn't know previously, and it helps convince you why it is a good platform. There's in the United States and Canada alone, I want to say 270 million users, I think something around there. Typically, LinkedIn users have a pretty high income. There's a lot of high earners on there, a lot of wealthy people on there. So you can get a hold of a lot of the right people. It just depends on how you do the outreach. So whether you're raising capital, trying to find clients, recruiting people to work for you, just general networking or anything else, LinkedIn can work for you. The main four things I want to point out are as long as you can find the right person to work with, like your ideal person is on LinkedIn, it can work. As long as you're reaching out to those people consistently, it can work. As long as you know how to talk to the people, because each person has different interests, has a different background, different experience. You need to know how to talk to those people. And as long as you're willing to follow the process and don't expect immediate results, it can work. Okay. Next, actually, as I go through this, I might wait to the next slide, but I'm probably going to minimize the screen and go into Sales Navigator. But if you're not familiar with Sales Navigator, it's an upgraded version of LinkedIn. So there's typically three buckets when people have LinkedIn accounts. There's a free account, which also goes by basic. Okay. And I mentioned these down here. So there's free, basic, same thing. There's premium, and then there's Sales Navigator. A lot of people just have a free account. And then if you upgrade, it costs a little bit more. Like as you can see here, Sales Navigator is about $150 per month. It's less if you pay for the year up front, as with anything. But I would recommend if you upgrade to anything, go with Sales Navigator over Premium. There's no difference in the amount of invites you can send with any of them. So let me actually skip down here because I'm talking about that. So regardless of if you have free, or premium, or Sales Navigator, you can send the same amount of invites. The benefit of Sales Navigator is that technically you have open emails, which is another thing I could talk about. But the main thing I was going to say is you have additional search filters. And so when you have more search filters, you can be more personalized with who you're trying to get in contact with. And then when you're more personalized with that, your messaging is a lot more specific, which means you're more likely to get somebody's attention. So that's why to bounce back up to the top, that's why I mentioned that 2 times as many filters as a regular LinkedIn search. Next, let's actually do this now. I'm going to show this search here in a second, but let's actually duplicate the tab and I'm going to show you why. So as you can see here, and I'm going to click around a bit. So if I'm losing anybody, tell me to slow down. Notice I say account tab is for top down. and the lead tab is for bottom up. Okay, this is actually something that embarrassingly I didn't stumble across until like 2 months ago, which is wild because I've used Sales Navigator for about 5 years. So as you can see here, there's lead and then there's account. So lead, like I'm going to show you on the next page. That's why I'm going to skip around to this and then I'll take more time on the next page. Lead is to find the actual individuals versus account. You could find the companies. So for example, you could go based off of the company's annual revenue. You could go off of headcount, industry, where they're headquartered. And then one of my favorite ones is actually the department headcount. So like, for example, if I'm looking for a company that is, let's just do this. Let's back out some of these. If I'm looking for a company that's doing at least 5 million in annual revenue, and then just click here. And then I want to make sure that their sales team, scroll down. You could also do sales or business development. Some people select both, but they're both in a sales capacity. Has at least 50 people. I could do this, and then that filters it down to the type of companies that I might want to get in contact with. And then what I could do is if I wanted to go reach out, I could reach out by company from the lead page. So that's just something that I wanted to point out because, again, it's super easy to have noticed, but I just never looked at this tab. So it's something good to know. Next, one other thing, and I wonder if I have it. I don't have it in the search, but let me actually copy this and I'll show you. Some of you might have heard of a Boolean filter. But a Boolean filter in LinkedIn is a way to search somebody's profile rather than a specific part of their profile. So it's looking at their entire profile. So the reason why I point this out is let's go back into lead with no filters applied. If I paste that in there and I click search, obviously it's going to come up with a list of certain people. But what this is doing is it's saying not, and if mortgage is on their profile or health or funding or any other term, it's not going to show up. The reason why this is important is I wasn't actually planning on going through an example here, but maybe I don't want somebody who has the word advice on their profile, or let's say advisor might be a better one. Okay. Not advisor versus maybe I want a specific search where for like my type of work, I might say financial advisor and exclude that. So the difference between these two, and if this is confusing, please let me know. Financial advisor, this is looking for their current job title. So when you go to someone's LinkedIn profile and it says something to present, right? From there, and actually let me check the chat because I saw a couple messages come in. Oh, nothing related, so never mind. I'll continue on.
You're good. You're good.
Okay, cool. So with the current job title though, this is looking for where they're working currently. And so if I'm excluding financial advisor, it's only excluding financial advisor. So if I say something like not financial planner, they're different titles. And so this would make sure to kick out financial advisor because if that's their current role, and then financial planner anywhere on their profile. So that's why it's important to know about this search bar to be more specific with your outreach as well, because a lot of people don't know that you can do that. Okay. Or you could say like, let's back this out. So like financial advisor or financial planner. And then you're going to see the search results are going to change a lot from 100 million down to 4 million. Okay. And it can go based off location. And actually that makes me think of one other thing with sales now that I want to point out. You can go based off a mile radius as well. Cool. Let's see. Another thing that's really important when doing the search for any type of LinkedIn outreach, you want to use commonality because the more points of commonality you have with somebody, the more likely they are to trust you. And with trust seemingly deteriorating, don't know how to say that word, online, it's important to leverage that as much as you can. So if you're in the same city or same state, went to the same school, you worked at the same past company or same previous job title, that's always a good way to build an immediate type of bond. Obviously, it's not a true bond, but it's going that direction. So leverage that as much as possible. And then like how I have that other search pulled open in Sales Navigator. Let's say that you want to find independent financial advisors because you want to raise capital from them and or their clients. You could use a search like this one. I actually applied a few more filters, but this is a search that I've actually played around with. So I excluded a lot of the larger financial services firms. I was also looking at smaller headcounts because then that finds companies with less than 50 people. So when I say an independent financial advisor, obviously they're not with a firm like this. These are people who are second degree connections, so there's a mutual connection there. A whole bunch of different titles. Typing all this out was not fun. And then I'm making sure that they're not entry level or in training. They're the United States, obviously work in financial services, and they have 6+ years of experience. So these are people who typically probably have at least a bit of a track record. And obviously, financial advisors are around a lot of wealthy people. So if I was raising capital, a list like this would actually be a solid list that I'd recommend targeting. I can always share this list if anybody has Sales Navigator too. Just let me know if you want it.
Can we maybe do a real-time search? I don't want to take over the presentation or anything. Would you like pick somebody out in the audience that's doing like looking, maybe they have Sales Navigator. I know Mel Giannoni's raising for a deal. I know Kevin Dabrowski. I think he might be he's probably already funded, probably, but he always likes making great connections. Does anybody want to maybe run through a case and see if we could find your kind of target investor avatar, perhaps?
We can do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm down if you got a moment. I'll try.
Yeah, let's do it, Mel.
Sure. Yeah,
Sure.
Austin, my name's Mel. I'm a commercial real estate broker, but also raising capital for some senior living projects. So I'm kind of exhausted all my regular retail database. So I'm starting to reach out to family offices, endowments. So sometimes schools or charitable foundations, they have endowments where they might want to invest and allocates the money in real estate, pension funds. So I'm looking for key people in those areas that I can tap into because and usually their title is acquisitions manager or asset manager as a title. So those would be the three kind of sectors, and then those would be the titles that I usually come across.
Okay. And then, by the way, just double check acquisition or
Yeah.
acquisitions.
Yeah, maybe acquisitions. That tells me that they're not just queuing in on one property, but maybe more than one.
Okay. And by the way, sometimes this is finicky because 3 results is definitely not accurate. And then only in the United States or where?
No, it would just be here in Ontario. I want to get as specific as I can because if I need to meet with them in person, I'd like to start off with a nice qualified base, a tight sample.
Cool.
So,
obviously, this is.
Go ahead.
Or were you saying something more? I don't want to cut you off.
No, I was going to say in Toronto, Southern Ontario, really.
Okay.
And in Canada.
Would this be too broad?
No, that would be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this obviously would not be a perfect search, but it takes it from 3 million down to 72,000 results. From here, you would have to play around with the filters. Typically what I find, and that's why putting together, let me say this is actually helpful for everybody else too. When you put together a search, the hardest one to put together is always the first, because something that's nice to know, which actually I'm glad that I'm pointing it out, you can save searches in Sales Navigator. So like, if I were to save that right here, it saves this list of 72,000 results, so you don't have to reapply all those filters. Another thing that Mel could do is you could apply second, third degree. We could always get rid of third degree after the fact. Is there a certain job title beyond what was mentioned here that would be good to include? Because another thing that we could do, I'm going to ask 2 questions here. Another thing that we could do is we could put it in the current job title as well.
I don't know. Good question. Aside from owner, founder, these would be the key people that are making decisions.
That's actually a really good point too. So what we could do is is the CXO level, so the chief level, is that fine too, or would you need the owner, partner, founder type?
Yeah, that would be okay. Anybody at C-suite level would be, someone who can point me in the right direction for sure.
Okay, and so that takes it from 74,000 down to 14,000. Do you care how long they've been in the current company or the company size?
No, I don't care about that, but I do care about maybe the company size. This way I'm not wasting my time with someone who thinks they're the family office, but really they're not. They're like people like you and me, giving themselves a title, and all they're doing is investing for their own family.
Hey, Austin's a pretty big deal. Never mind.
Not the way I want to be. Thanks, though, Joe. So what type of company headcount?
I would say between 1 and 50 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could even start there, and that, what was that, 14,000 comes down to 8.5. And keep in mind, this search result is going to be different from my LinkedIn network than yours. So
Right.
like, notice this is going to drop off a lot because I don't think I'm connected with a ton of these people, especially up in Canada because I'm from the United States. So if I got rid of third degree, 8,500 goes down to 1.5.
Right.
I've 15,000 connections on LinkedIn, so I'm more connected than the average person. Look at that. This isn't even how I spell it, but that's ironic. Um, but
Yeah,
so
can we put a Boolean in there and say not lawyers? I
yeah,
see
yeah.
family lawyers. The word family shows up, but
When you mix it, here's what I would say, yes, but this is where sometimes you need to start playing around because you don't want too many filters in the search bar. So what we could do is you could do current job title, you could put lawyer and exclude. This
got
is
it.
another reason why I like Sales Navigator is because you can exclude contacts. And then like if you, I don't know, is there anybody else in here that you're not liking their title?
Canadian Association of Journalists. No, don't need that.
It's funny, I thought I knew who that was. Associate, where was that one?
One more up. One more. Keep going. Keep going up. There, right there. Member of the board of directors for the Canadian Association of Black Journalists. I don't think they're doing too much commercial real estate investing.
So that's one where you could also go by industry. So if you wanted to do like they have real estate or financial
Right.
services on their profile, you could do this. And then obviously that cut it down to 551, but then you could throw back the third degree. So 551 expands back to 2000, right? So you
Yeah.
could just play, that's how you just play around with the filters until you find what you want.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I was looking to cut it down to about 1,000 and then work my way up from there once I exhaust that. That's great. Thanks, Austin.
Of course, of course. And then everybody listening, just try to use those filters to your advantage with the messaging then. So like if they're at the chief level or above, mention that they're an owner, mention that they're probably a partner. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're not misrepresenting them. So like saying they're a partner if they go by CEO, because obviously people get pissed off about super simple stuff. But like also hit on that, hit on the location, hit on the industry that they're in, because then the more that you use that, the less it seems like you're using, well, maybe you are doing manual outreach, but in my case, I automate my outreach. And so it doesn't seem as much like automation. It seems like it was a personal touch. Cool.
How do you do
Joe,
that with such a big sample size? And how do you automate and still be personalized?
you can, let me just, not in a promotional way, but let me show you within my software.
Sure.
So like, this is what our portal actually looks like. And if you went to messaging sequences, this is the actual first message that goes out to the financial advisors that I'm reaching out to in this campaign. So we have a few personalized tags right here: first name, last name, company, location, title, and then you can do custom ones, which is just a little bit more work. But it says holes in the first name from their profile right here. This is just in parentheses. So this actually types out the way it looks. And then at the end here, it pulls in their company. And if their company, for whatever reason, is not available, the fallback text is your firm. So that's how you personalize it, as well as just putting in specific words. Like I type in financial services firms 52 plus, because that's what we work with and that's what I'm reaching out to. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Good, good.
And
Joe,
then,
how much time do you want me to keep it to?
I
That
would
was really
say, yeah, no, I would say let's cap it at like 8:15, so another 20-ish minutes, 19 minutes. That
okay.
way we still have time for everybody else. Yeah.
That's fine. I can go shorter if you want to. I can breeze through stuff because, quite frankly, sometimes I slow stuff down just to make sure I'm not doing
Oh no, keep going. I think everybody's pretty engaged with this right now. So.
good. Good.
That wraps up part one of our call with Austin McCulloh. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you get notified when part two drops. Thanks for watching.